Oh, this is a pleasant surprise. My scouts told me they'd seen a dragon flying into camp. I was hoping it was you. What are you doing here? I was under the impression that your obligations in the capital would keep you occupied for a few weeks at least. No, I am happy to see you, of course. It's just that, I'm not used to dividing my attention while I'm out here, and I honestly didn't expect you to seek out my company so quickly. No, I don't want you to go. Now's as good a time as any for you to see the front, and if I'm being honest, I was starting to wonder how you were getting on. Have you been waiting long? Shall I send for some refreshment? No, I usually eat with the other warriors around the campfires. I don't seek special treatment out here. My mother tried to insist on a lavish tent with all the amenities, including a private chef, but I squirmed my way out of that one by telling her that such a thing would make a perfect target for attacking forces. That's why this humble tent of mine is exactly like the others. And you are, of course, welcome to share it with me for the duration of your stay. Otherwise, I shall ask my men to set up adjacent accommodation for you. Very well. I shall have another cot brought in, and some furs as well. We'll join a campfire for the evening meal in a bit, if that suits you. What's this? Oh, and what does Her Majesty say this time? As I've told her, I'll update her when there's something to update her about. We've been managing to hold this valley well enough while we send out scouts and quell minor skirmishes, but I've had no further reason to write until today. So, how are things going in the capital? How are you settling into the royal family? Well, it's not entirely Ambrose's fault. He just makes sure that we keep our schedules. In reality, he has very little control over how full they are. I am sorry that you've had to make so many visits, though. I had thought that the shaking hands and kissing babies we did after the wedding would be sufficient for a while. It appears I was wrong. I see you come fully armed and in practical armor instead of the ornamental set. Does that mean you are joining me here in an official capacity? Long term? Good. I told my mother that I had watched you train and believed you were perfectly prepared for the battlefield, but General Xylan still had to give their stamp of approval before you could join me. It's more ceremony, really. Xylan may be very old and no longer an active general, but they served Zateron very well and were a brilliant strategist back in their day. Anytime someone rises into the highest ranks, they must oversee the process. Tell me, did they still proctor the examination in person? They'll never change. They made you nervous. I had to pass that examination at 15 years old. You'll get no sympathy from me. Has there been any news on the status of the refugees? I had worried about that. The numbers just keep rising. More and more people are being chased out of their villages, even for having minor magical abilities. I wish I could get away to oversee their care myself. I know I can be of the most help out here at the front, but my heart aches for those caught in the middle, and I've got my hands full here. You really went there in person? Did Mother sanction that? Well, that was bold. Oh, she probably will be a bit put out, but don't worry. If you did that as a kindness to me, I'll keep you shielded from her wrath. How are my people? That's consistent with what I've seen. Their spirits are broken. They're hungry, sick, exhausted. Their homes are either taken over or burned to the ground. That was very kind of you to go. I'm sure it lifted their spirits to see you there among them, helping them, distributing food, listening to their stories. It means a great deal to me that you went there, not just as part of the royal family, but as my spouse, and as someone who cares deeply for them. Well, you're right, they are your people now. How I wish you could be introduced to them under better circumstances. But I'm pleased and grateful that you are meeting them on their level. It says a lot about you as a person, and as a future ruler. Oh. No, I'm all right. I've just spent most of the last few days either flying or walking, and my neck and shoulders bear the brunt of the abuse when I'm in full armor, I'm afraid. But I can't complain. I'm quite used to it. And you're the one who's been traveling all day. Wait, you flew all the way here on that wing? Well, yes, it's healed, but it's going to be incredibly sore tomorrow. I have a balm that helps with soreness. I don't suppose I could convince you to shift for me so I can put some on your wing. I thought not. Fine. Will you consent to me at least rubbing some into your back? It'll take the edge off, even if it's not quite as effective as applying it to your other form. Oh, don't be ridiculous. If you're going to be of help to us, I need you in peak condition. Good. Sit. How's that? Glad to hear it. Yes, I've been sleeping, but I can't honestly say I've been relaxing. I've been leading a reconnaissance team every day to look for human outposts, see if they're advancing from any particular direction. Nothing yet on that front. We did, however, find a convoy belonging to Griffin forces this morning. Most of them flew off upon her approach, but there was one injured one left behind who couldn't fly. We brought her back. Of course, as a prisoner. That does not mean we're treating her poorly. On the contrary, she's receiving food, a bed, and medical attention for her wounded wing. Well, yes, we do try to treat all of our prisoners with some degree of dignity, but especially this one. She's a child, 15 years old. Remember back in that cave, I told you that griffins augment their numbers by turning unwilling participants. Some of those victims are children. The Griffin King is not as compassionate as his predecessor, I'm afraid. In any case, we interrogated her. She was loath to talk, and no wonder, but after a bit of food and something for the pain, she let slip that we were stealing all the resources and causing her people to die off. I prodded a bit, and come to find out that the non-gifted revolutionaries are aware of some imbalance in magic, something that they're afraid of. They believe that as our strength grows, as our population enhances naturally, it's sapping the life force of those who don't have magic. They believe that we mean to continue growing and take their very existence captive. And from what she said, it's something that the Griffins knew about, which is why they mean to capitalize on it and take over the continent. Them declaring war on us only proved that the common people indeed had something to fear. I don't know. She was a bit incoherent and none too happy, poor thing. She originally was the child of human revolutionaries, and then was taken captive and turned during the Battle of Hester's Creek a few months ago. She has no love for either side of this, but I mean to find out more at a later date. I believe there is some truth to it, yes. You know as well as I do that every few hundred years something like this happens. Someone gets greedy, or the gifted population gets too large. and the common people rise up out of either fear or necessity or both, depending on the situation. I really can't be surprised that it's happening again. But it's hurting everyone. Lives lost on all sides, livelihoods destroyed. One family was driven out because their 8-year-old son could manipulate plants. Imagine driving out a child for having an ability that was only used to help his village grow crops. People are so afraid. I wish there was some way to end it, once and for all. Perhaps I can't fix the whole world, but I can give my all to fix Zeteron, and then Saphira. But if this is true, if magically gifted individuals are unknowingly drawing their power away from the life forces of regular humans, then something has to be done to rectify it. It's my duty, our duty. They're my people just as much as those who manifest magic. I would argue, even more so. I was born one of them, after all. I was completely ungifted when I came into this world, and if I hadn't had the good fortune to be hand-chosen when the king and queen came to the orphanage, I'd be suffering along with the rest of them. Perhaps this is why our line of succession is constructed the way that it is, to keep the leaders humble. There you are. That should help. What about me? Well, yes, I am sore, but I'm no stranger to that. You dare use my own logic against me? All right. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, that's heavenly. You were right, I needed this. Certainly. What would you like to know? No. Mother is kind-hearted deep down, but it's hard to see it sometimes. She's had to make unbearably difficult decisions in her life, and there wasn't always room for compassion to guide those choices. Sometimes it comes down to pure numbers. She used to be a commander like me, you know. Her own father lived a very long life, and as a result she was afforded a great deal of battlefield experience before she took the throne. She's a brilliant diplomat, and commands respect when she enters a room, as you've seen. My father? Well, King Owen was the second son of a noble who had grown up with the luxury of freedom. He was very good-natured, fun-loving, a bit of a prankster. He was the one who could afford to be emotional from time to time. When they married, she was the brain and he was the heart. Between the two of them, they covered all the needs of the kingdom. Mother allows my occasional breaches of etiquette because it reminds her of him. He was the one who invited me to sneak out at night, to get away from the palace and get a breath of fresh air. He would smuggle sweets into the library when I was stuck there for tutoring all day, and on one occasion, during a painfully boring event that I was quite sour about having to attend, he made faces at me from across the throne room so that I would smile. He encouraged me to go into the city with Ambrose when we were children, so I could experience how regular people lived. When I was a bit older, Father and I volunteered together at the orphanage where they originally found me. And during the ceremony, when I was turned into a shifter myself, my body began to go through those painful changes. He not only broke royal protocol to hold my hand, but he encouraged my mother to do the same. And I wasn't scared anymore. Between the two of them, I believe I was equipped rather well for my position. I do miss him terribly, but I try to live my life in a way that would make him proud. No, nothing like that. Royalty prepares for assassins, poison, death on the battlefield. They don't prepare for being thrown from a horse during an afternoon ride, or a fatal head wound. Thank you. It's been some time since it happened. I had to carry on, to honor his memory. Yes, that feels much better, thank you. Indeed, their marriage was arranged. My mother was originally meant to be wed to my uncle, but he planned to join the order and spend his life in quiet contemplation at the monastery. Thus, the honor and burden of becoming the next king fell to his younger brother, my father. My parents did find their way, despite their crucial differences in personality. They truly loved one another, which is why I have hope for us. Well, between caring for my people and caring for me in equal turns, you've proven your thoughtfulness. You speak your mind, which demonstrates your honesty, and you've let me see glimpses of very good humor, which to me is very important. I have no reason to doubt you. And I find you to be a very pleasant companion. I'm often alone with my thoughts out here, but it's surprisingly nice to have someone to talk to. I think I shall be glad of your company, especially as this situation escalates. Thank you. You can rely on me too. The next several weeks, even months, will be difficult at best. I want you to be honest with me about how you are doing and what you need. I'll do my best to provide it. Well, tomorrow we'll talk more to the girl. See if we can't get the location of the Griffin base out of her. If not, we'll turn her loose and follow her back to wherever she goes. Once we have that location, we'll try to arrange a meeting with the Griffins. I don't know if they'll agree to that, but I have to try. If there is anything I can do to alleviate the bloodshed, I will. But we can talk about that after you've rested. Come along. You've been traveling all day. You must be hungry. Come what may, I am glad that you're here.